Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. I am, of course, the most charismatic man. I just want to add a little flavor to that. I hope everybody's having a great day, great week. Just got off work. And, before I bring on my guests, I got a couple things I want to bring up. First thing, it's been coming to my attention. Someone was asking me why I don't play football. I'm a good-looking, charismatic, in shape, athletic guy, and someone was asking why I don't play football, and I was dreading telling the story, but a couple years ago, Tom Brady calls me right after college, and he's like, "Hey, Percy, I'm hearing that some of these teams are looking at you, but could you do me a favor? I don't want you stealing all the credit. I don't want you stealing all the highlights. Could you just not pursue football? This is my time, and I don't want you taking all the thunder and the press away from me." So I promised them I wouldn't do that. So Tom Brady, that's for you. No, I'm just kidding. But all serious, no. Frankie, I suffered a couple family tragedies over the last couple weeks. My brother Jerome passed away at age 28, so rest in peace to him. My dog of 16 years, Lady, she just recently passed away, had to be put down. So, if anybody's going through grief or, struggling, just know that, there's always, people out there that support you. And don't be afraid to talk about it. Sometimes grief can be the most powerful motivator. So I'm using this time. I took a couple days away from recording. I'm back, and I'm just using this time to, if anybody's out there in the same situation, don't be afraid. You're not alone. Everybody is struggling at one point. So, don't be afraid to speak up and, speak your truth in that matter. But, I want to turn our attention to my next guest. He owes me $5,000. We used to joking about this on his podcast, but, I need to get paid for my time here. I'm just kidding. But he's returning. Amazing guy. We've had a great conversations before. And I thought, let's bring him back on because, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. A lot of things happened since I last spoke to him a couple months ago. So let's bring him back on. Amazing guy, straight from Canada. Like I said, last time they was trying to smoke us out. They got the message. I told them, don't do that to us anymore. And, they stopped. But, Franky, great guy. Let's bring him on. Franky, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to be back on. And apologies for smoking you out, but hopefully we can move past it now and we're all good. You invited me back on, so you're not holding any grudges or anything. So that's good.
Now, I will tell you, the only person upset right now is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And, I know people are going to say, why is he mentioning it? Well, because Dwayne knows, I was the old man with the new. So if I got smoked out, he wouldn't be replaced. No, I'm just kidding. But no, Franky, like I said, it's always great to have you on. I always enjoy our conversations. And, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes and everything. Because last time we spoke, we talked about the SAG after strike, the writer's strike, and, what we're doing. Actually, let's not, it's like we need a warm up. And I'm not, this is a kid show, so I'm not going to, relate it to anything. But let's warm up a little bit, Franky. How's everything? How's life? And, what you've been up to?
Well, things have been really, really good. Things have been busy here over, doing lots of theater and all that stuff here, keeping busy with the podcast. We're in, for those of you guys who remember the last time we were talking about back in July or August, something like that. I can't remember now, but I was talking about, we're planning on our next production, which was basically The Office, the TV show The Office, if it was set in a theater company. We are now staging that next week. So we're in like the final stages of rehearsals. And actually later on tonight, we are going for some costumes and getting some costumes all tweaked up and stuff like that. So been super busy with that. Writing, directing, producing, all that stuff like that is a lot of work, but it keeps me out of trouble. And if it's something, the old saying is you don't work a day in your life if it's what you love. And so in that way, I'm blessed doing what I love. And it's been really good. And doing the podcast as well too, weekly. For those of you guys who don't know, a little plug, the Corcoran Entertainment show every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that good stuff. episode 95, Percy was on, and spread his charisma and his charm and and all that good stuff. And it was a great chat, and I'm just so thankful that he that our last episode went good enough to where he's like, yeah, I'll bring you back, I guess, might as well. So I appreciate it very much.
Hey, when the pockets get empty, I'll bring anybody. No, I'm kidding. No, Frankie, like I said, you're a great guy, great guest, and we always have great conversations. But before, I want to jump around a little bit. I want to get to the main topic point just yet. In honor of your new show coming up, I want to have a little fun moment because I have a story that I actually want to mention, or a funny thing that happened when I was doing theater for the first 9 years of my career. Do you have any funny moments or crazy theater experiences that you had that like people just wouldn't believe if they ever heard?
Oh my God. There is like so many. It's been like 10 years and there's just so much funny stuff that has happened through the years. One in particular, I'm kind of, because behind me here, I have all the posters of all the shows I've done. So I'm kind of like skimming through each one, like funny memory. So recently, or maybe not recently, last summer we did a play called Lend Me a Tenor, basically written by Ken Ludwig. And basically, it follows an opera company who this world famous opera singer Tito Morelli is coming to perform. And so then basically what happens is he he ends up his wife leaves him for a brief period of time, and he ends up taking some sleeping pills and going to sleep. And then the very next day before, or sorry, hours later, it's time for the show, and the guys misread a note, and it looks like, oh my God, he just committed suicide over his wife's leaving him. And so and it just all goes from there. And then I play the general manager of the company, who's like, people are paying thousands of dollars to come see the show, we can't cancel this. So I basically have to, or my character has to dress up my assistant as that opera singer and send him out, and nobody will be none the wiser. But then, although the performance goes great, everything's going good, the real one wakes up and chaos ensues, and there's two of them running around, and the cops are getting involved. It's super hilarious, and also so physical. Where those shows, like farces, it's just snap, snap, snap. It's also snappy. One of our actors who played Tito, the opera singer, Jansen Black here. Shout out to you, Jansen, if you're listening to this. This guy broke some furniture on stage. We're running around and we're chasing him around. He tripped close it, which it's funny that he was so into it that the audience wouldn't have known that it wasn't part of the show. But so he broke the furniture. There's a part where I have to where my character's so pissed that he supposedly died, so I have to jump up and strangle him and stuff like that. So we're there counting how many bruises did he receive throughout this production, and I can't remember how many we counted. It's probably going to come to me after, but we had quite a few bruises where I'm throttling on them, throwing them down. And that's one that really stood out to me. Or another one, it just came to me right now. I was skimming through around trying to find on the posters, but we did one called Biloxi Blues. And this is actually one I told on my very first podcast, because I had Jansen on that podcast and he told the story as well. But so basically, Biloxi Blues takes place in World War II. My character plays the playwright Neil Simon, who wrote it. It's basically a fictionalized version of himself going through the war and basic training and stuff. And there's one part where he loses his virginity to a prostitute, and so we had sex scene on stage. Well, lights went out. We didn't really know what, so it was implied that sex happened. So it's a real quick change after that. So I threw the clothes I threw them down, and then I had to run around to the other side of the stage to get ready for another scene where I come on the other side. And the lights were up. I couldn't go on stage. I was missing my shirt. My shirt was missing because it was on stage still behind the bed. I said, oh my God, it's on stage and I can't get my shirt. Oh my God. So Jansen, the trooper that he was, said, you know what? Took off his shirt, gave it to me. And so for a bit, he's doing stuff around backstage on set, no shirt on. It was just so, it's like one of those moments where it's like, we can't stop because my shirt's on stage. We just got to keep it going. So that's two of many stories. I'd have to like go through like a big list of stuff, but that was those two really stood out to me. But yeah, those are some of the hilarious misadventures that come with theater.
Oh yeah, I know all too well. This for all the theater kids out here, because there's a lot of people who probably have a lot of bloopers and funny stories from theater. I did, for people who don't know, I did Shakespeare for about 7 years. I did about, 7 Shakespeare plays. I'll never forget the first. It was the second one I did, Much Ado About Nothing. So, in high school, I worked with a professional theater company called Epic Theater. And, they are, Melissa, the director and head of it, she's been awarded multiple awards from Michelle Obama for her work, because it's a non-for-profit organization that comes into certain performing arts schools, and they work with the kids for free. So we get to work with professional actors, people on Broadway. It was fun. So this is the second performance, the second show that we worked collab with together. So I was always the lead or co-lead. It's usually me or this other guy. So we're doing the show. We was doing the show, I believe, in Midtown near 42nd Street, 47th Street, I believe, off Broadway, and packed house. And so this girl had a solo monologue on stage by herself, spotlight and everything, right? And I'm not one to ever discredit anybody's abilities. I would never do that. But this girl wasn't someone who considered herself an actress. She was in drama with me, but she was really there to get the credits. She didn't really care about the acting. So, but she got the role. So she's on stage, and my scene is coming up next. So I'm in the wings waiting, and in the middle of the monologue, she forgets, she's standing there, and she says line. Now you know what line is. So. People who don't know what this means in theater, if you forget a line, mostly in rehearsal, if you forget a line, you say line. Line means usually the assistant will tell you what the line is so you can remember and keep moving on. So you don't do that during a live show. She did it anyway. She said line once. We like, okay, maybe she was improvising, right? So we gave it a second, dead silence. And we know on theater, when it comes to theater on stage, anything more than 2 seconds of nothing is awkward. So she's standing up there. She says line. Line again.
Oh, dear.
Line. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, ain't no way she's actually calling line in a live show. So me, as a true professional as I am, because I couldn't let her suffer the sink, I was like, how do, what? We're going to just jump the scene. So one of the other assistants, the people in the light booth, they had earpiece on. So we told them, hey, she's having trouble. Let's just jump to our scene. So in the middle, when she says line again, I walk on stage. The other guy, he picks up. We go on stage and we end it. And she just walks off stage. Nobody ever noticed. It was, truthfully, I'm sure probably 1 or 2 people in the audience did. But thankfully, I was able to pick up quick and get on stage because – you can't make this stuff up, right? I'll tell you one more. Okay.
Did she go back? Did she go backstage and beat herself up? Because that happens a lot. No, she didn't. No. There's so many people I know that if they forget a line, they go backstage. Audience would be none the wiser, but they're backstage going, "Oh my God, I messed that up. I ruined the whole show." It's like, no, like literally, like nobody knew. You know what I mean? Like unless you let on and say line. Nobody's going to know you messed up except the cast, and they don't care as long as the show keeps going, No,
it's funny too, because the exact same show, same day, One of the guys. So I was I was Don Pedro. So the guy, I forgot what role he was playing. One of the guys, it was a couple scenes after this mishap, right? So we thinking everything, all right, you know, it happens. Let's show business goes on. So this guy, who I forgot what role he was in, but he was supposed to come in the middle of my sentence. Me and the guys on stage, you know, doing the dialogue. He's supposed to come and interrupt. So I say the line, and nobody comes out because he's supposed to interrupt me. So, you know, I just play it off. I pace around because it was kind of a good spot because even though he cut me off, the other guy didn't have to say anything because it just worked out that way. So I say the line, nobody comes out. So, you know, I take a breath, I take a break, and I look at my part, you know, the other actor, and I say the line again. Nobody comes out.
Oh no.
Luckily, I didn't want to wait too long because I didn't want to keep saying the line people would pick up. So we just skipped on the scene. Lo and behold, after the show, I find out because this dude runs in like 2 minutes later when the scene was already over. But later come find out, you know, excuse me, but he was watching porn downstairs.
Oh,
so,
what? Are you
serious?
Oh my god.
I mean, you can make this stuff up. I don't want to say his name because, you know, I don't want nobody like, oh, I remember this guy.
Shout out to him, whatever you're.
Yeah. He was downstairs watching porn, and the only reason they found him was someone was going to the bathroom because they couldn't find him backstage. He was nowhere to be found, but someone had to go downstairs and grab something, and they saw him tucked up in the corner with his phone brightness up. I'm like, you know, I know this high school, you know, a lot of them don't really care, but you know, trust me, I got many more stories I could go on. But yeah, I'm like the fact that someone ever said line on stage,
that's
nothing can beat it.
I think it also could, like, whenever someone or like people like us watch that, there might be some people who don't, you know, watch theater and stuff like that, and they might not pick up on those you know, things where, like, you know, maybe if someone said line, someone who doesn't watch as many shows just be like, oh no, it's part of the scene or something. But that I mean, like, well, something like that is pretty obvious that you messed up. But I mean, like, definitely for us, we can see a lot like, okay, yeah, they messed up. Oh, there's a pause in their voice. Yeah, I think they forgot their line. Like, I think it's just because we've done it so many times now, we can pick out the small things, you know.
Yeah, trust me. You know, all of my years of experience, you know, this is not to dog anybody because I've had my fair share. I'll share this quick one. It's not acting related. I don't think you know this, but I did magic for 8 years. So,
no, I didn't know that.
No, yeah, a lot of people, well, people from high school and college and maybe a little after, no, but I did magic for 8 years. I performed for a couple of America's Got Talent contestants in Central Park, you know, a few times. But my first show ever, I was in 10th grade, 11th grade at this point. I was doing a show for Bendel-Stiff Family Circus, well-known organization because they do a lot of circus acts and open mics. So I was doing an open mic variety show where it's usually during this time when they was doing this, it was more like magic acts or, you know, circus acts. So acrobatics, magicians, all that good stuff. My first show, I practiced, you know, as much as I thought I did. I'm on stage, and you know, this is probably my fault because I was rushing myself a little bit. I was a little amateur at the moment for stage wise. So I was doing a trick. It was actually a dangerous trick, something I've done multiple times. And I knew that I didn't want to make it obvious how I was doing the trick because this trick is dangerous. It's the trick where you have 3 cups, and depending on who does it, some people, you know, do a coin or whatever. I did a long screw under the cup. And I want to break the magician's code, so I won't explain how the trick was supposed to be done. But nonetheless, I thought I had my bases covered. I had an audience member come on stage, and I'm feeling myself. I get the first once, man. I slash the cup, got it. I'm free. So the point is, I'm supposed to, you know, get everybody on the edge of the seat, slap my hand as hard as I can down on the cup because they don't think I know how the trick is done. So the last two cups. I forget what number.
Oh no!
I forget what number I was supposed to, not hit. So my stupid self thought, you know what? I want to slam my hand down because if I do, well, let me back up. I was supposed to use my hand, but for shock value, I decided to slam my head down, to make it a little more dangerous because, a screw going to somebody's head is a little more than a hand. So, like a dumbass, I didn't. Instead of playing it safe and trying to, look at look under again, I didn't want to ruin the trick that way. So I hover, and I'm like, all right, let's hope to God it's not it. I go to slam my hand, and I quickly use my head. I slam my head on the screw. Luckily, I didn't aim my direct forehead on it, but I got the screw stuck right here. I still have the mark right here on my hairline.
Jesus!
I slammed the screw, got stuck in my head.
Oh my God! I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh, something like, oh dear.
No, I got the screw stuck in my head. Blood was gushing out. And the guy, I was what, 16, 17 at the time. So people really weren't, oh, you suck. People was, being supportive. But I'll never forget that because I went home, blood dripping down my face, and I had a big old hole in the middle of on the side of my head. So yeah, I've had my fair mishaps. God. So
that just, oh my God. Like, I don't know where I was expecting that to go, but I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, screw went right in my head. That was the end of your magic career.
No, it actually wasn't. What I did, this is the time, because right before I did the show, I performed for Collins Key, who was on season 8 of America's Got Talent. And he was telling me, he was like, yo, you should, do some shows, maybe audition for the actual show. So this was just a way for me to, show, see how I can do on stage. Because up to this point, I was just doing acting. It was humbling. It was funny. My head was hurting. I was in pain, but I just learned from it. And I just learned how to better prepare and stay in the moment. So I had that first nervousness done. Now I can, next time I do the trick, and I've done it multiple times for other events, hasn't gone wrong since. But yeah,
don't jinx yourself.
I'm not jinxing myself, no. But yeah, let's move on now, because I know a lot of people might want to hear this story, but let's talk about what is happening. Last time we talked, we was talking about the SAG AFTRA strike, the writer strike that happened in June. As of a month ago, the writers came to an agreement with the union, with the entertainment industry, the heads of the corporations. Now the SAG AFTRA union is still striking, and it's unfortunate because, I've been in the industry for a while now, and the industry is slow. The auditions are not coming in. I actually interviewed, I'm sure people might know, but one of the guys I've interviewed on the podcast, he has a recurring role on Power Book 2 on Stars, and he was telling me how he had to pick up a day job, because he got to pay his bills, he got a family to raise. And actually at my job that I do part-time, one of the residents, her daughter comes in, she actually had a script greenlit by HBO that was supposed to be put on TV next year. The strike happened. She's doing teaching jobs until and maybe she's hoping that when everything comes together, that maybe she still has a job, waiting for her. But at this point, nobody knows.
Yeah, because things change so much. They might go, yeah, so under new assessment, we're gonna go in a different direction. So like even then, it's not for certain. Yeah. Oh God.
No, it's not. But I know you have more experience with the behind the scenes stuff. But in your words, how do you feel about the writer strike and the deal? How do you feel about the current situation right now? The negotiations still going on this late in the year and all that stuff. What is your opinion on it?
I mean, my opinion is I am actually surprised at this point that an agreement hasn't been made. I mean, like there were many times where it was okay, we're coming to some sort of an agreement. Like it seemed like things were finally coming to an end, and that everyone can get back to work. And then they started laying down all these demands and stuff, and then it just went right back down the shitter. So it's a super tricky, because I mean, because we can say for us, people who like watching TV and movies and stuff like that, or not even that, people like yourself who, the auditions haven't been coming in because, the world is on strike right now, or the entertainment industry is on strike right now. Yeah, like it's easy for, like myself, like there's lots of TV shows and movies that I'm like, oh my God, I just want to see these things get made. But at the same time, you do want both sides to come to some sort of agreement that they're both happy with. And that, but really, I think though, like no matter what the deal is, no matter what they come to, people are going to be unhappy with at least something. And I think that's, I think that's bound to happen with any agreement, that you make. Like, okay, like you agree with these things, but you don't agree with these things. And then vice versa. The other side will have the same thing. They have some things that they agree with, and then there's some things that they don't agree with. So no matter what, somebody's going to end up, disappointed by something. But at the same time, I just can't help but think, like, people, have to get back to work. There's people like, because there's talks of them. I'm not sure at the time of this recording. What I mean, like, God knows, who knows? This episode could come out and the strike's done. You know what I mean? Like, it's super hard to say just because it's been so unpredictable. But there was something I read that it was, I think it was last week, that if the strike wasn't, or if an agreement wasn't made by a certain date, which was sometime this month, that negotiations are done until 2024, which I hope isn't the case, because man, if they drag this out any longer, oh my God, there's people's, like livelihoods are and they're going to lose their homes and their pensions and their benefits. Like, it's just going to be, and so that's why I'm super surprised that there hasn't been some sort of agreement that, and as I said, both sides, they're going to have to eat shit either way. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to, get what they want, but then there's also going to be exceptions. There's exceptions to, I mean, like, there's always a catch to something. But yeah, I'm just really hoping, hopefully it gets back, not just for me wanting to see movies and TV and stuff like that come back, but more so, I want the actors and people who are working in this industry to get back to work, so they don't, go into a big financial hole. You know what I mean? Like, it's unreal. So fingers crossed anyway that something comes to that it comes to some sort of conclusion soon, but it's hard to say.
It is hard to say. And, I try to, because a lot of people who are in the industry always ask me about it. And, they think a lot of the industry, they think the strike is all about greed. Actors are being greedy and want more money. And there's much more to it. Like I said, I stay with the strike not because, do I want to audition? Absolutely. Do I want to get back to what I was doing before it? Yes. Did I miss out on some life-changing opportunities right before the strike? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, I don't think people realize, outside of the industry, the importance of this, right? Because, many actors, like I said, a lot of people don't realize this, but sometimes your favorite actor on TV might be working a day job somewhere. He might be waiting tables. She might be, delivering your mail because, the money just isn't coming in. And, people like to say, oh, well, unfortunately, rest in peace to Matthew Perry from Friends. But like, people hear about the residual money he gets. Well, that's from a different time, different era of the entertainment industry. That is not the standard anymore. You're not going to see, unless you're on Law and Order, and you're not getting, $500,000 a year in residual money. That's just not happening. And even if that is the case, you're probably talking about the Olivia Bensons of the world, the people who are actually the stars of these shows. But even then, people aren't buying cable anymore either. So that's going to run out eventually. So, I think the strike, I agree with you. I'm actually surprised it came this long. I would have thought that they would have came, especially with when the writers came to an agreement, things would have been a little more smooth sailing, maybe a week or two, just crunch down the numbers. But I remember hearing something from one of the heads of a big streaming platform production company. I remember he was coming out saying that, a lot of actors won't survive the strike. They got bills to pay, mortgages to pay, kids to feed, all this stuff. Eventually going to bow down to our terms, right? And I don't remember his name because I haven't, he hasn't been making the headlines lately. But a lot of people feel that way. They think they're going to starve out the actors, the people on the picking lines and stuff until they can't handle no more. And that's unfortunate. Corporate greed is a thing. And, I love the industry. I'll never talk bad about the industry. But we, as someone who's seen the insides a little bit and seen other people in action, I will tell you, I know a girl. I worked with a girl last year when I was doing the Mattress Firm commercial. She told me she was doing a role on a Netflix popular TV show, Netflix show. I won't say the name out of respect, but she was doing the show, and she was doing the commercial with me, which don't by any means. It was really fun, really good commercial. But she was telling me she was getting paid more for the commercial than she was for the show. I'm like, how does that work? How you on a hit popular show, but a commercial pays you more money? And that's the thing. I think a lot of people think is all about greed. No, it's about people getting paid for your work. Think about it this way. If you're an artist, right, you create art for a living. Do you want to get paid for your services, or are you going to just do it for free just because you love it? Well, I'll tell you, as an actor who's been doing this for 13, 14 years now, I love the art, but, rent got to get paid. Acting classes aren't cheap. Going to auditions when they're in person, there's a lot of gas mileage. Some people might have to call off work that day. There's a lot of investment that goes into this industry. And I think a lot of people on the outside looking in don't understand that. How do you feel? Do you think that? Do you agree with that, or do you think that, this is it's all about money? People being greedy and they just want more.
Well, it is an interesting because I know of so many people, like who I know personally that are saying, "Oh, come on, like the actors, like come on, they already make millions of dollars, like come on." Well, there's not everybody makes all that kind of money. Like if you're a SAG actor, you're part of the union, but you're only on a show for like an episode or two. You know what I mean? Like you're not getting, like let's say you're doing a like The Walking Dead or something like that, and you're on for like 2 episodes. You're not getting, like Andrew Lincoln money where you're, like get like racking up like millions of dollars per episode,
right?
Kind of thing. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but yes, sure, actors get paid a lot and stuff like that, but at the same time, and just with the cost of everything going on, because at the end of the day, we know that actors are people too, as much as people like to think that they aren't, and they're going out in public and they're filming them and they're harassing them essentially. So although people tend to forget that, they are people at the end of the day, and they need to live. They got families to raise, they got mortgages to pay off, they got cars to pay for, and then especially if they're flying to different countries and stuff like that for different roles. Flying isn't cheap. Unless you're like a Robert Downey Jr. making that kind of money where you can literally just fly. He probably has a private jet or something that he can just fly out wherever he wants. But not everybody's going to be like Robert Downey Jr. Not everyone's going to be like, you were talking about Matthew Perry. So like, I don't know, like some of the friends, like Jennifer Aniston, you're not like them where you're just loaded. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it is. As I said, there are lots of people say, "Oh, come on, they already make lots of money and they're doing this and that." It's like, well, at the end of the day, they're people. They got bills to pay and stuff like that. And one thing I said too with acting is that it's all gig work. A lot of people, it's gig work. Unless you're a big actor like a Robert Downey Jr. or someone like that, where it's you don't got to work a day in your life because you have so much money. But there's people who just go from job to job to job, and it's not like, okay, you're done this TV show, okay, good, now just find another job. Like it's not as easy as some people think, unless you're like a millionaire, Will Smith, Robert Downey Jr., those type of people, Whereas other people involve on like, okay, I did 2 episodes of this show, now I'm flying out here to go do an episode of this show, and then I'm going back to do 2 more episodes of this show, like, and then flying back and forth between what they're making. Like, it is a lot that people don't seem to understand, really. Like, it's or like why they're striking, think, oh, they already make all kinds of money and this and that. It's like, well, I mean, there is a lot more at stake here, because I mean, there's been strikes everywhere. There's been lots of strikes in my hometown where, we can all sit around and say, oh, they get paid lots of money. Like, oh, come on, what's the matter with them? It's like, well, no, there's more to it. And at the cost of everything too, like how people afford to live nowadays is ridiculous. Like, literally, when you would look at lumber prices and stuff like that pre pandemic, you know what I mean? Or lumber prices, not just or like housing, groceries too is a huge one. Everybody needs groceries, and you look at it afterwards, you're like, holy shit, like, I should just, like, what should I do? Like, dog food. I remember I was getting dog food the other day, and like the bag I got went from like like $70 to like 120 or something like that. I was like, oh my god, like, it's lasts me a while, but still, I'm like, it's crazy just how much it's just gone up. And actors too. I mean, like, as we said, it's not cheap to fly. They're flying back and forth to different jobs, and it's not cheap to do that unless you're, as I said before, a big A-list star with, and you're one of the highest paid actors in the world,
Right. Yeah. And, a key part about the money too is when people say actors already make a lot of money, what they're failing to realize is when you average in Dwayne Johnson, Tom Cruise, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, all the real big names. Yeah, that's why it seems like actors are making money, because you look at the median. Yeah, for 5 big A-list celebrities, they probably make enough money to cover every act. Well, yeah, most actors. So when you look at the average income, you might think, oh yeah, they making millions. No, that's not true. And I think money is a big thing, and I think anybody who says they're being greedy, well, sometimes being greedy is not a bad thing, right? Because again, when you're delivering the service, when you're fronting your time, your expertise, and your service to other people, you expect to get paid. Do you think you're going to go to a restaurant, the server and all these people are going to make the atmosphere welcoming for you, make sure your food is phenomenal, make sure everything is top notch, and then don't want to get paid at the end of the meal? No, that's not how it works. People want to get paid for their work. And I think one of the issues is a lot of people look at the entertainment industry as a hobby. Unless you're the A-list celebrity, a lot of people say, oh yeah, get a real job. But would you say that to the actor of your favorite show? Go get a real job. No, because you love those shows. And those are actors too. They just might be lucky to be in that show that you so much enjoy. But it's not, I hate hearing that term, get a real job, because then you're going to tell every artist, every musician, everybody, don't, go get a real job. You think if Dwayne Johnson listened to that when he was, younger, he would be where he is today? No, he would not. So, I think I could talk about the strike a lot, because I think a lot of people need education on it. It's not just about money. But the surprising thing, before I ask you another question, the surprising thing is there are other actors, other people in the industry who quite simply don't support the strike at all. Stephen Amell, Mr. You failed the city, have come out and said, the strike isn't really necessary. What are we doing here? How do you feel about that statement when people say that the strike is unnecessary? Let's just get back on the horse and let's get back to work. What do you think about that?
I mean, like, that's a loaded question, because there's so many different. I mean, like, there's some people who are probably very happy with what they make, and they're like, it's fine. We don't need to do this. I just want to, keep on doing my thing. I don't care how much I make. I'm making a living. Like, it's fine. And meanwhile, there's some people who aren't that lucky. I mean, like, the people who say that are probably people like someone like Stephen Amell. They're on Arrow. They're making, all kinds of money per episode. Yeah, it's really, really tricky to say because I mean, uh, because this, yeah, it is really loaded actually. Like when you really think about it, because there are lots of people who are very much so. I mean, like I won't list off any or organizations or anything by name here, but when there were a couple strikes going on here, I knew there were some people who were like, involved with it, who are like, I don't know, I can't believe I'm here on the picket lines. Like, I really don't care. You know what I mean? Like, so I get that perspective where, I mean, like, if you're happy, why do I have to stop work just because these people aren't happy? You know what I mean? But I guess when you look at it, no matter what, there's going to be someone who's mad at you, or disagrees with you, and that's what I said. Even like when they eventually come to an agreement, there's gonna be both sides are gonna be saying, no, this is bullshit. I don't like this. It's like, but they're gonna have to just say, you know what, get over it. You got what you wanted. If there's a catch to it, move on. Let's just get back to work. So like, no matter what, there's people that are gonna be with different opinions and stuff like that. But yeah, that's where I'd stand on that. Where yeah, like it's really, really tricky. Where if you're one guy like Stephen Amell or something like that, oh, the strike's unnecessary. Yeah, he's the guy who gets paid, like, for Arrow. How many episodes did Arrow go on? He probably got paid a good chunk of change of that. You know what I mean? So it's easy for someone like him to say, but then there could be someone else like, yeah, I wish I was like you. We can't all be as blessed,
Yeah. I say this with like respect to Stephen Amell and a lot of them. A lot of people who say that are usually the ones that don't have to worry about how to pay their rent at the end of the month. They don't have to worry about when the next dollar's coming in, because generally it's easier when you're Bill Gates and people call you and money just kind of falls into your lap to not complain. And I think, as we see a lot of celebrities on the picket lines standing with them. And I remember hearing about, I forgot the actress name, but she got interviewed by the New York Post, and she said, I'm on this line because I stand with the actors. I stand with my fellow performers. We often hear, at least for me, I'm a big, this is what I want to do in life. So I know a lot of things about this industry, but for a long time, pay discrepancies, even with co-stars in movies and TV shows, were a big thing. The lead actor or one of the actors getting paid, 125 million per episode, right? Give or take. But the other actor's only making 45,000 an episode. Some people might say, what? That's a yearly salary. You complain about that? But again, a lot of people don't realize the amount of time you're spending on set, the amount of lines you have to memorize, the professionals, the travel, all it's not easy to do what I do, to do what we do, right? And I think, unfortunately, I get what you're saying too, where yeah, you want the strike to be over. It's a little selfishness of all. Look, I want to get back to audition. I want to get back to the opportunities that might be waiting for me, But I say this, I was having a conversation with a guy at the park months ago. And I was saying this because he was asking me about this. He was like, why can't they just move on? Why is it always about the money? And I said, these people are fighting for not just themselves, but their families, the next generation, right? Because times has changed. Do you use cable? No. Do I use cable? Not a shot. Anybody under the age of, I'll be a little generous. I'll say 40, because over 40, you might still see a couple, but under 40, you'll generally see them using streaming services. And the pay scale from, back when Friends was on TV to now is drastically different. People need to realize the industry's changed, but the money and the way how the industry operates hasn't changed. You got to keep up with the times. If you're, for instance, if you're a FS1 driver, right? If the newer cars are the Dodge Challengers, SRT Demon, right? Those are the standard. Are you going to drive a Honda Civic? No, because you can't compete. So you have to change with the times. But one of the things I do want to ask you about in terms of changing with the times, which was a nice breakaway, one of the things I've been talking about, and it doesn't really get talked about regarding the strike, but it's actually a key point. Technology has changed the game. Social media changed the game. You know, as we've seen with Barbie and Oppenheimer, the amount of press and viralness they was able to achieve together and alone goes to show times has changed, right? The movie theater experience is changing. And, you know, with that being said, you know, with the rise of CGI, big blockbuster movies, 250 million plus, budgets for movies, technology is increasing. And we've heard stories, at least I have, of, now certain areas in Hollywood are considering digitally cloning actors, famous actors, and using their likeness for commercials, voiceovers, and stuff. So essentially, you can get a Will Smith without paying a Will Smith fee. So that's a big thing that's going on. Do you think technology, as much as we love it, do you think technology can hurt or help the entertainment industry?
Wow, that's a loaded question, because on one hand, yeah, like one hand, I mean, like that's I am not a fan of what they're doing, where they're basically taking the wanting to use the actor's likeness and just throw them on there. And yeah, hey, we want Matthew McConaughey. We want him to do those Lincoln commercials, or no, Honda. Let's have him do Honda commercials. He doesn't want to do it. Okay, let's just use a Matthew McConaughey and then we don't have to pay him, but we also but then we have Matthew McConaughey. Like that right there, I find is just scummy, really. Don't matter how you look at it, but yeah, I mean, technology is good in a lot of ways, and the internet and everything, because getting word out for movies and stuff is a big one too. I mean, years ago, God, you were having to communicate by telegraph just to, hey, you want to go see this movie tonight? But so, and movies like, big blockbuster movies like Marvel movies, like Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home and Oppenheimer and Barbie, all these movies were so popular and were so successful because of technology and the internet and people, Barbenheimer and all this stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't think of that, I wouldn't have seen them both back to back, which is what I did. I think there are a lot of ways, like one example doesn't really pertain to the strike, but it was the situation. I remember I was having a discussion with someone about this one time. The whole Alec Baldwin situation with, of course, the accidental shooting on the set of the movie Rust, which a lot of people compare to the passing of Brandon Lee that happened on the set of The Crow. I think that's what his last movie was called, The Crow, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And so my opinion on Rust was, I'm like, with the way social media is today and stuff like that, I'm like, if what happened in The Crow, like I almost said Russell Crowe, sorry, Brandon Lee, if Brandon Lee and The Crow situation happened today, I don't know if they would have finished that movie. Like, who knows? Like, but the way I see it with that Alec Baldwin thing, it's like, because of how big technology and the internet is now, I don't think anybody could look at that movie and just say, oh, here's a Western movie, and not think, oh, that's the movie where Alec Baldwin killed that girl, which, yeah. I mean, was, there were so many things wrong with that situation. And that's a tricky discussion. As far as I know, they are planning on continuing filming that movie, if I'm not mistaken. There were talks that they weren't. There were talks that they were going to scrap it, and then there were talks linked last year that, yeah, they're going to continue it. But just where I've always said, where I'm like, oh, I mean, like, really, like, I get in the sense where, that would have been like her last movie that she worked on. Like, she literally died making that movie. So I can understand the drive to want to honor her and finish the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the other side where I think, like, oh my God, like, who's going to look at that and just not think about what happened,
Yeah.
And yeah, and same with or maybe not the same, but like with the strike, where, I mean, like, and then seeing like the internet can get so divided on the strike. I mean, as we were talking earlier, where people are like, oh, the actors get paid lots and this and that, and then people will take that and run with that without even like thinking about, okay, no, listen, guys, don't listen to everything you say on the internet. Back then, people were able to form their own opinions about stuff. Nowadays, people see one like Twitter comment or something like that, and then they're immediately like, "Oh, I agree with that." Nah, that's what I think. Okay,
Yep.
well, why do you think that? I don't know. I saw this tweet, and that's what I. It's like no, like stay off the internet and form your own opinions, kind of thing. It's good to look through people's opinions because it can sway you in different directions. But for you to just take one, like, imagine if someone said online when the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation was going on, someone just set comments, Amber Heard is right, or I stand with Amber Heard. One person could see that and go, yeah, I stand with Amber Heard. I stand with Amber Heard. That one Twitter reply said that she's right. So, and I think that's the biggest problem, or one of the biggest problems with the internet today, is that people don't actually, they don't take the time to form their own opinions. It's just, I'm just going to go on the internet and see what people think, and then I'm going to stick with that. So, I listen to people's opinions online too, but it kind of, like if I disagree with someone on a certain topic, then I'll listen to what they're saying. I'm like, okay, I kind of see where they're saying here. I might not be entirely sold, but I get where they're coming from. So the internet's great for a lot of things, but I mean, and technology, but especially this AI thing, I think is just ridiculous. And I mean, like using actors' likenesses and stuff like that. It's just, there's many different ways that we could go about it, and to fairly compensate the people who work so hard to deliver these shows and movies.
Yeah, you made a good point. It's a very interesting. Is one of these talking points. I ask you because this is not going to be. We're not going to know until it's really running, right? But this is a conversation we want to have before, because there's two sides to it. Some people say, absolutely not. We don't need AI. It's going to ruin everything. We're already over relying on technology as it is. Let's keep it. People like Tom Cruise has spoken about how, AI will take away work from stuntmen, because you won't need stuntmen anymore. You could just digitally alter, people on screen. We've seen that with, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana, the last one with Harrison Ford. They de-aged him to the point where the technology now is so good they can make Harrison Ford look like a 25-year-old, and so but then there's the other side to it when it comes to money, where it's like, hey, I can use a Will Smith, I can use a Chris Hemsworth for my campaign or commercial or something, and I don't have to pay $25 million just to have them. I don't need to do that. I just give them a slime over a little fee and I can rake in the dough, right? Because we know when it comes to celebrities and advertisement, it works. That's why they don't call me, because I would not take knocking. But I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence with it. On one hand, I think if we over rely on technology too much, it'll cripple us, right? But I also think it's like Thanos said, it's inevitable. It's coming. And a lot of these companies, we see what the strike was happening now. We're talking about people getting paid residuals just from streaming. Now imagine when we have technology to the point where they can now, like I said, most budgets now $250 million just to get to the movie theaters. You're looking at $200+ million as a budget. Now, a lot of these companies might say, hey, with the technology, we don't need to pay everybody this egregious fee. We don't need all this other elements. We can knock down the budget down a little bit. So instead of $200 million, we could shave money from this side. We don't need this as much. We could cut down on this. So now our budget is $50 million instead. And so all that extra money that they're making, that's another conversation where they're making extra money now because the budget is getting lower, but who's they really going to? So, it's a slippery slope. We won't have a final answer. But one of the things, too, that's not going to – the only way things will change is not the actors, it's not the writers, it's not the agents and the managers, it's the people. Yeah. And I've said this before, the guy was conversation. He asks me about the entertainment industry all the time. But I was telling him, the only way things change is if an outside force comes in and they speak their truth. And for the executives of these companies, they might say, "Oh, actors are just being greedy. They don't really care. They just want more money, right?" But then if you have the consumers who actually watch Breaking Bad, Stranger Things, and all these popular shows, say, "Hey, we stand with these actors. I shouldn't be seeing the lead of Stranger Things serving me a cheeseburger at a diner. I should not." So
that's sad, really.
yeah, and luckily that hasn't happened. But we also hear, I've talked about, I remember it went viral. One of the girls from Euphoria, one of the top shows right now, she was talking about how she was struggling to maintain her lifestyle with the money she was making from the show. And you think Euphoria was Zendaya? Come on, everybody's making great money. But not everybody is Zendaya, unfortunately. Zendaya can command a higher paycheck than them because obviously Spider-Man. But she was saying how she's struggling, pay her mortgages. She has a publicist, an agent, and all this stuff that everybody needs to get paid. Why am I struggling to maintain just my lifestyle? We're not talking about going to Paris for dinner. We're just talking about the basic human things of paying bills. But again, like you said, some people might say, "Oh, downsize. Why you need that house? Why can't you just go rent an apartment somewhere?" So it's a tricky one. We won't have a final answer yet, but it starts an interesting debate,
Absolutely. And earlier you had mentioned about how Tom Cruise is against AI and that it's going to take away jobs and stuff like that. That's one thing. Now, people give Tom Cruise a lot of shit. I know people give Tom Cruise, "Oh, he's crazy and he's this and that." One thing that I've always admired about Tom Cruise is he really cares about the industry, because if you remember I'm not sure if you remember, it was about 3 years ago, back when the whole COVID thing was going on real bad. They were filming Mission Impossible, and he went off on these guys who were ignoring COVID protocols, and just like, "If I see it again, you're fucking done," this and that, blah, 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 like just going off on them. And there were so many people out there who were just, "Oh my God, like, he doesn't have to be like that. He's just so mean, and he's this and that." And like, and to me, I'm like, no, like, and there were lots of people who were saying, oh my God, he's so egotistical. They're gonna ruin the movie that he's a star of. No, Tom Cruise, he is a producer, and he was a producer on that movie too. So he's not just looking out for, I'm sure he cares. Like, yeah, he is the lead actor in it and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like, at any time that a movie shuts down production, that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, per hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So back then, if someone got COVID, then the whole thing is shut down. Like, one person out of 100 people on that movie set, probably way more, like thousands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was so much more at stake there, and I so admired what he was doing, where he was just, "What the F are you doing? This and that, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that again." And people can be, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he can't say that and he can't do this and that." It's like, well, look, if you're the producer on a movie and you're seeing these guys do something that's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, potentially millions, if 5 more people get sick, and then that's, it's just crazy. But that was one thing that I always admired about Tom Cruise is, yeah, some people think he's egotistical, some people think he's crazy and this and that, but at the end of the day, he really cares about the film industry. He really it really shows that he cares, and that it's not just, I'm Tom Cruise, I'm the best of the best. So he's protecting other people's jobs, and he wants to ensure that, as you were talking earlier about the stunt people, they don't need stunt people anymore because of AI. Then all those people who poured their life and did that for a living, they're done. It's like, what am I going to do now? They don't need me anymore. And
right.
So that's just one thing I super admired about Tom Cruise, is his admiration and just how much he cares about not just the industry, but the people who work in the industry.
Yeah, he's a true professional. And, I think people like him, Dwayne The Rock Johnson and many others that are out there donating. I know the guy who is from, I think it's not Breaking Bad. I forget what popular show he was from, but he was talking about how he was doing this charity event. It's not gambling, but a charity casino type of event. I think it's like poker tournament where all the proceeds will be donated to the actors and the union. Because they know that there's many actors who aren't they don't have Dwayne The Rock Johnson money. I know I don't. I actually have more money than no. Let me stop.
He has like 1.2 billion. I have 1.3 billion. Like,
yeah, come on, Dwayne, pick it up, man, pick it up. No, but I appreciate people like that because when you truly care about what you do in the industry, you will stand up for everybody. For me, that's one of the reasons why I enjoy these talks. Is one of the reasons why I try to help any actor if I can, is because I didn't get into it for the money. I got into it because I enjoy this business and I love this business, and that's why the strike for me is important, because I could be greedy and say, hey, me and my manager will talk about it once in a while, check in and talk about it. I'd be like, yeah, I just want to strike, and I want to go back to work and audition, right? That could be the selfish person in me. But I don't want to do that because I know, like I said, people in the industry I've known who are even, done way bigger things than me, having to do part-time jobs and stuff like that, where they can't pay the bills at the end of the month. It is sad. And I think it's one of those things when you have those upper tier people. I always talk about it. I always say we shouldn't rely on them too much, but stuff like this, we do need them because they're the ones that are going to be able to make the change. You can't starve out Tom Cruise. They're not going to do that. He can strike as long as he wants, and he has more money than most of the executives. So eventually, I think we need people like him and others, and I'm glad they are doing it. Even Stephen Amell, for his comments, he's on the picking lines, I've heard, and I've seen pictures. So he finally joined it, but I think they're starting to realize, look, if my kids want to get in this industry, things going to be different for them. And I want them to be able to make a living from this. And I think anybody who views this as a cash grab or go get a real job, you can apply that to many other industries. And, like I said, it's not about getting a real job. It's about people being able to make a living and, do that without having to worry about where the next dollar's coming from. And, it's a crazy time. One of the things I want to ask you as we wrap things up, because, we're going on an hour. I know people probably stuck in the car, stuck in traffic. Like, oh, shut up, Percy. No, I'm kidding.
Radio station. We're better than radio.
Radio, when I come on, the radio shuts down. That's how it goes.
The lights go down in the city.
Yeah, exactly. But do you see an end coming? Do you think that even if the actors and the executives that we're striking against, even if we can't get everything that we want right now, do you think we will have a resolution at least by the end of the year?
I mean, it's crazy. Like this writer's strike reminds me a lot of COVID back when it first started, where it's, oh yeah, this will blow over in 2 weeks, and then it was like 4 years later, there's still people dealing with it. But I don't see this lasting 4 years. I mean, nothing like that. I'm hoping now, fingers crossed, that we do get something by the end of the year. That's the optimistic side of me. But if I have to say at the latest, I'm going to say January. I'll say that. I could be wrong, but it's the way the negotiations are going now, where it's to a point where I don't think they're even close to talking about going back to work yet. And every time they are, it just one thing after another happens and it gets pushed off. Oh, we couldn't come to this agreement and this agreement, that agreement. So I'm going to say at the latest January, because they're not going to want to drag this on till, all of 2024. Yeah, December 2024. All right, the strike's done, guys. Because that's a lot of people out of work. That is a lot of people out of work, and the actors are going to go broke. and not just actors, but there's so many people who work in the industry, like, prop masters and makeup and lighting, all that stuff like that, who haven't been able to work because the actors are on strike. So it's I think they have to realize that at the end of the day, there is a lot at stake here. It's not just about getting what they want, but it's also a matter of there's so many people right now who are going to lose their like, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. They're not going to be able to pay their rent because our industry is shut down because we can't come to some sort of agreement. So I really can't see it going on any longer past January. Hopefully sooner. I pray that it's sooner. It could be sooner. It's tricky to say, but I'm going to say probably by January. I could be wrong. In January, you can call me up, or February 1st, if the strike is still ongoing, you can call me, say, Frankie, you were wrong. What the hell are you talking about? You don't know anything. So that's what I'm going to say for a prediction. January, I'm going to say I can't really see the strike ending this year.
Yeah, the hardest part about it is now with the holidays coming up, it's going to the talks, unless it happens before Thanksgiving. I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think maybe early next year. And I just want to say this too. There's a big misconception from some people who think the executives and these companies are chilling. Netflix, they're chilling. They don't have to worry. It's the actors and the people on the lines. No, let's be clear. There's already talks of many shows either being canceled next year or there's shows being pushed back. And when it comes to movies, like I said, $250 million budget movies. If they don't go to, if they don't stay on schedule, that means these studios are going to lose that type of money. And like you said, the longer you don't put out the project or the product, the more money is going to cost to keep it, on the shelves or ready. So a lot of these movies that aren't finished or are completed and don't have a release date, that's a lot of money being, sitting right there. That's either going to go down the toilet or, maybe to be able to recoup, and I think it's an interesting time. I'm hoping, I'm praying, not because of selfishness. Well, a little bit. I'll be remiss a lot if I said that I wasn't. But generally, I'm hoping before, I say by January, mostly because that's when new shows are starting to get written up. And, especially now with the time, one of the good things about the strike, it is allowing some fresh new ideas to, be coming written and brewed up and maybe even pitched right when the strike is over. So we won't see another rehash of Little Mermaid next year. We'll get something new and creative. But, I'm staying positive. I'm staying hopeful by New Year's or January at least, we'll have an answer. We can get back to work. People don't have to worry about unemployment. People can get back to their jobs and making a living, and people can get back to their entertainment.
Ooh, fingers crossed. Anyway, I mean, like Ivan saw an interview with Ryan Johnson talking about that with the writer's strike now done, the writers being back to work, the actors aren't yet, but he's now plugging that way on the new Knives Out movie, which super stoked to see, and that makes me more excited. Now it's a matter of just getting Daniel Craig compensated, and then we can get the ball rolling. So it's all a matter. It's up to you, actors or SAG, everybody involved. Come on, let's come to some sort of agreement.
Yeah, like Zac Efron said in High School Musical, we're all in this together. That was horrible. I'm not getting the record deal.
That was good. That's really good. And Vanessa Hudgens too said it.
Yeah, that's true. People said I sound like Adele. I don't believe it, but
that was very well done, I must say.
This is why I get paid the big bucks. So that's not big bucks, ridiculous. But Frankie, we had a great conversation. We could talk about this all night, all day, but for the sake of not everybody falling asleep, us falling asleep, let's wrap things up in a positive way. Like I said, we're hoping the strike ends soon. We can all get back to work and nobody has to worry about how they're going to pay bills anymore. But, Frankie, like I said, you have something coming up. Feel free to plug your socials, your podcast again, your show. So anybody who might be in the area can come check it out. Whatever you want to leave with the people. What do you want to leave with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Playhouse Choral opens November 16th, 17th, and 18th at the Beaverbrook Kin Center. The address there for those of you guys who are coming out of town to come watch it: 100 Newcastle Boulevard. Playhouse Choral. It's a play I wrote and has an amazing cast, amazing crew, and basically it follows the temperamental general manager of the Teddy Wood Playhouse, and his name is Teddy Wood. His choreographer, Sarah, is also his lover after his divorce. He's been living in his office at the theater company after he and his wife split up, which is very complex. We kind of delve into that a little bit. And when his rival / mentor / adversary, they have a complicated relationship too. His Rod Foley, he's a competitor from a different province, offers Sarah a job, which will then take her away from Teddy. This results in a titular Playhouse Choral where Teddy's trying to keep his choreographer / lover at his company at all costs. And there's hilarious moments, slapstick humor, heartwarming moments. Very well acted. I'm not just saying that because I'm not being biased, but everyone's doing a fantastic job. I'm so proud of how far the project's come, and we want everyone to see it. Tickets are $20, and they can be purchased at the door. You can follow us on social media at Corcoran Entertainment. You can see the name is right there by my name, and I'm not sure that's going to appear on the video, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then we're also on Instagram as well. And tune in the Corcoran Entertainment Show, new episodes every Tuesday, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. And Percy, thank you for having me on again, man. It's always a pleasure. And this certainly won't be the last time. I hope that we collab.
No. Especially when the strike happened. We're going to have to do a recap. We're going to have to, we gotta do another reunion. But even outside of that, I enjoy always having you on. We always have great talks. It's always fun, and like I said, at this point, the tab that I got running for you, $15,000. So
shit, I gotta get out here now.
hey,
I block them on everything.
Hey, until the strike is over, I need my money. So
I was trying to GoFundMe, guys, to help get Percy back up on his feet.
I'll take whatever I can get.
Yeah, just send money his way.
Exactly. I ain't gonna say no. Although, let's keep this quiet because I know the IRS is probably listening. So
they're like outside my window.
But Frankie, we're gonna wrap things up. We're gonna get out of here. I know people got kids to watch. Go home and eat on their way from work. I hope everybody's having a great time. Like Frankie said, go check him out. Go check out his podcast. Amazing podcast, amazing platform. Check me out on Instagram, wherever you get your podcast. That's where I am. And like I always say, a helping hand is a better hand. And Frankie, I was going to say something about Canada, but I'm not. I'll talk to you.
DM me after. Tell me what you're going to say.
I got you. All right. Talk to you later, Frankie.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right.